This is something that's sort of been percolating, Maz, across Major League Baseball, and that is the posturing that I think's kind of begun among owners and Rob Manfred. That was Rob Manfred there during I don't know where that was from, but he said it recently publicly, obviously, just these sort of overtones about the need for a salary cap in Major League Baseball. And the collective bargaining agreement is up in 2 years, and they're setting the stage for it. How do you feel about this whole story?
So I think it is posturing. I think the owners are pushing. The CBA expires on December 1st, 2026. Okay, so if they want to get a deal, they're going to need one basically a year from now, within the next year, and I don't think they're going to have one. I mean, to me, this thing's going to go down to the wire. They might figure it out in November, extend the deadline, whatever. But that as an aside. So here's the thing. Historically, I think that they have a problem in the sport that relates to spending, but not in the way you think. The small market teams are putting money in their pockets. I think a floor is more important than a cap, but you can't get one without the other. So at the end of the day, you know what my answer is? No. Believe it or not, no. I don't want one. And I'll explain to you why in a minute, but go ahead.
Well, it feels like that fight might be coming. I hope it is coming because I do want one in baseball. As a fan of a small market team, I want one. Forbes, I'll just give you one story. Forbes wrote, from TV deals to bond ratings, how MLB's push for a cap could derail growth. They say 651 days. 651 days, Maz, if you're counting. That's how long before the current labor agreement between MLB and the players expires. 11:59 p.m. on December 1st, 2026. Either a new deal will be in place or the owners will impose a lockout, as was the case with the last collective bargaining agreement. All this may seem far off, but it's clear that the stage is being set for what could be a painful and protracted labor dispute as the looming threat of owners seeking a salary cap is spoken of publicly. If regular season games of any significance were lost, it would mean and have financial implications for the league right at the time when attendance is seeing a resurgence, interest in the postseason is at a high, and the league is seeking a record $12 billion in gross revenue. On Tuesday, Manfred spoke in Arizona as spring training gets underway. That was where that cut was from right there. He was asked about the Dodgers, who, according to Cott's contracts, projects to have a $402 million luxury tax payroll for the upcoming season. $402 million, man.
Unbelievable.
That would blast through the luxury tax and could see a penalty of around $150 million.
Right, so the whole thing would come to $550 million.
Last season, their luxury tax payroll was $353 million with a $103 million tax penalty. So their total payroll last year was $450 million, including the tax.
Yep.
Given the Dodgers have largely won the offseason free agent wars, not just this offseason, but last year with Shohei Ohtani being the centerpiece, the topic of financial imbalance got brought up, and that's where Rob Manfred gave you that comment about the Dodgers are just playing within the rules, but it's clear we have fans in some markets that are concerned about the ability of their team and their market to compete. How come you're against the salary cap?
I'm against the salary cap because I think it's one of the few ways in big markets you can actually leverage your own owner. So in other words, why can't you do what the Dodgers are doing? Why can't they do that here? Or at least go farther over the tax? So the Dodgers can have a $500 million payroll, but the Yankees can't? Steve Cohen's doing it. The Red Sox are kicking up now, but what have you been doing the last few years? I just think there aren't many.
You don't want Henry to have the excuse that Robert Kraft has?
Bingo.
Even though the NFL salary cap is complete garbage and we know it?
Yeah, so look, it all depends how the cap is structured. I get you on that one. So I'm sure there's a solution somehow, some way.
You don't want to give John Henry the excuse.
I don't want to give anybody the excuse. You own a team. It's a public trust. It's going to cost you to put a team on the field. Pay for it. You're going to make your money at the end. And just as an aside, because I know we don't cross sports, Burt Breer wrote something similar about Jeff Lurie the other day and the Philadelphia Eagles and what Lurie believes when it comes to investing in his team. You know what Lurie said? We're going to make our money back in the valuation of the franchise when it's all done. The winning and the public trust part of it And, the reputation of our franchise is worth more than the millions in revenue we could bring in any one year relative to, you know what I mean? If we were spending less, the extra $20 million that we're going to get that back multiple times over because of the valuation of our franchise if we win. So, and I believe in that. They're going to get their money back. I'm not here to fund some project where they can build a new neighborhood and turn it into Disney World. That's your problem. The team's job is to win.
I'm with you on all these things. I don't want to give those guys an excuse either. However, would it be a better league?
Sure.
It'd be more balanced. I mean, with the way it is right now, it feels like you're going to get Yankees-Dodgers as in the World Series in perpetuity. Like, that sucks. There needs to be other teams breaking through.
So, Murray, I agree with you. I don't want, but I also think there's a mechanism in there that teams are exploiting now, which is the revenue sharing part of it. Why do these small market teams get to stick the money in their pockets instead of putting it in their rosters? The idea is not for you to make money. The idea is to make it competitive. You're supposed to take the revenue sharing, put it into the product so that the league benefits.
Why don't they just have a mechanism that says if you receive revenue sharing, your floor has to be X?
Well, so I agree.
Your salary floor.
So allegedly what they say is that they can't put in a floor. The union won't agree to a floor.
Because they won't agree to a cap.
Right. And I don't understand why one necessarily leads to the other.
Well, I know what you're saying.
Because, look, I suppose you say, well, if other teams have to raise their payroll to meet the floor, that takes money out of the market for the better players, and that those guys aren't going to get the money. I would tell you the best players aren't going to get the money from those teams anyway.
Well, obviously you know who is against it. Quote, "The reality is that salary caps don't guarantee competitive balance," MLB Executive Director Tony Clark recently said in a statement. Salary caps are about competitive perception. They are about the increase in franchise values and growth of separate revenue streams that will never be to the benefit of those off the field or the fans who come to watch them play. Salary caps are always one-sided relationships. So I don't totally understand what he's trying to
No, look,
there.
and I think Tony Clark talks out his ass half the time. So, again, Tony Clark believes that the pitch clock is causing injuries and the pitch clock has been a problem. So, it's hard to believe in anything that the union says because Tony Clark has stood in the way of progress for the game that we all have enjoyed. But in the same breath, I would tell you, I like being able to look at the Red Sox and say, well, of course you lost because you didn't spend what they did. And you got plenty of money. So, and look, I don't expect them to all mortgage their properties and put $1 billion team on the field, but I do expect them to push it. And I don't think they've been pushing it lately.
All right. You want a salary cap in baseball? Not the sexiest question, but I don't know. I think it'd be a better league. I think it'd be a better product. But I'll tell you this. The competitive balance, there is a lot of parity in baseball. I mean, there really is. I know the Dodgers have won 2, but one was in COVID, and that was 3-4 years ago. Mm-hmm. There's not like these teams going on runs, like the multi-year runs. In the tournament, the baseball playoffs are wide open, I think.
I mean, Cleveland made the ALCS last year. Detroit got in and made the divisional series.
There's always different teams in the playoffs. There's always wild card teams, 6 seeds going on runs, making the World Series. Like, that's routine. Like, I think baseball's actually become kind of wide open in terms of parity. I mean, I don't know, the different number of playoff teams. I bet you if you did a sample of the different number of playoff teams in baseball versus the different number of playoff teams in the NBA or any other sport, I bet you baseball's right up there with any of them.
That's probably right.
You know what I mean? Like, any given year, how many new playoff teams do you have? It feels like baseball, just again, from 10,000 feet without taking a close look at it, it feels to me like there's always new teams in there.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Felger and Maz here. For more Red Sox analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.